Hello, and welcome to the AstroGuy Podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Zuhl. And before we dive into the night sky, I just want to say a huge thank you again, as we've officially passed 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's a pretty amazing milestone, and it's all thanks to you. To celebrate, I'm running a little contest. One lucky YouTube subscriber will win a metal print of one of my early astro photos of the North American Nebula. It's a piece that means a lot to me. If you haven't entered yet, check out the post on the Facebook group or see the details in the 1,000 subscriber special episode on YouTube. It's super easy to enter. Now, November is one of my favorite times of the year for astronomy. The nights are getting longer and darker, the air is crisp and clear, and the Milky Way is still hanging high in the evening sky before the winter constellations take over. It's a great time to bundle up, head outside, and soak it all in. In this episode, we're going to talk about what's up in the November skies, which planets are putting on a show, when to catch a meteor shower, a great lunar feature to explore. We'll hear about some of the latest space news and take a tour through the constellation Perseus. So let's get started and see what's waiting for us in the November 2025 planetary roundup. As November begins, Mercury appears low in the southwestern skies after sunset. It's glowing at magnitude minus 0.1 and shows a barely waxing gibbous phase that's just over 7 arcseconds across. On the 9th of November at 5 p.m., if you have a very good view of the southwestern horizon and binoculars, you can spot Mercury, flanked by magnitude 1.5 Mars, 3.5 degrees to the right of Mercury, and Antares, glowing at magnitude 0.9, 4 degrees to the left of Mercury. The sun will have only set about 20 minutes earlier, so binoculars will help you to pick the trio out of the slowly receding twilight. On November 1st, Venus rises about 90 minutes before the sun, shining brilliantly at magnitude minus 3.9. Even so, you'll need an unobstructed eastern horizon to catch it before it's lost in the morning twilight glow. As the month goes on, Venus rises a few minutes later each day and gradually sinks deeper into the dawn. By the end of November, it will rise only about 45 minutes before sunrise, making it increasingly difficult to spot in the brightening morning sky. Diligent observers on the morning of November 25th might be able to spot Mercury shining at about magnitude 1.8, just 1.5 degrees above Venus in the brightening twilight. It'll be a challenging sight, very low on the eastern horizon, but worth the effort for early risers. Mars begins November low in the western sky at sunset, shining at about magnitude 1.5. It remains a difficult target throughout the month, staying close to the sun and fading quickly into the twilight glow. Jupiter, on the other hand, is putting on a spectacular display in November's skies. On the first of the month, the largest planet in our solar system rises around 10:36 p.m., glowing brilliantly at magnitude minus 2.3. By the end of November, it's rising earlier, about 7:40 p.m., and brightens slightly to magnitude minus 2.5. Through a telescope, Jupiter shows a disk about 44 arcseconds across, large enough to reveal its dark equatorial bands and some subtle details in its cloud tops. Even binoculars will show the planet's 4 Galilean moons, lined up like tiny jewels in orbit around the giant world. Saturn begins November shining at about magnitude 0.8 in the southeastern sky, nestled within the constellation Aquarius. By the end of the month, it fades just slightly to magnitude 0.9. See if you can notice the change. The planet's disk spans about 18 arcseconds, but when you include the rings, Saturn stretches to roughly 44 arcseconds across. This month, though, the rings are a challenge. They're nearly edge-on to our line of sight, making them difficult to see. Over the next year, and for about the next 6 or 7 years, the rings will continue to gradually open back up, once again offering us that classic Saturnian view that we all love. Around 1 a.m. on November 2nd, the waxing gibbous moon will sit about 3.5 degrees to the right of Saturn, creating a beautiful sight for the naked eye or binoculars. Uranus is located in the constellation Taurus all month, shining at about magnitude 5.6, which is right at the edge of naked eye visibility under a truly dark sky. Most observers will need binoculars or a small telescope to spot it, but it's an easy catch once you know where to look. To find Uranus, start with the Pleiades, that little dipper-shaped cluster of blue-white stars high in the eastern evening sky in Taurus. Then, look about 4 degrees south, easy peasy. In a telescope, Uranus appears as a tiny pale blue-green disk, noticeably steadier and less sparkly than nearby stars. Even with modest magnification, you'll notice that it doesn't twinkle, a giveaway that you're looking at a planet. If you're using a telescope, Uranus shows a subtle, uniform bluish hue with no visible surface detail, but that color is unmistakable. It comes from methane in the planet's upper atmosphere, which absorbs red and reflects blue-green. That gentle tint is one of the most striking views in the solar system. On November 21st, Uranus reaches opposition, which means it's directly opposite the sun in our sky. It rises at sunset, remains visible all night, and sets around sunrise, giving us the best viewing opportunity of the year. Because Uranus is at opposition, it's also closest to Earth for the year, about 1.6 billion kilometers away. Light from the planet takes roughly 2.5 hours to reach us, from its position nearly 19 times farther from the sun than the Earth. Despite being almost 4 times Earth's diameter, Uranus appears tiny, even in a telescope, at just 3.7 arcseconds across. If you've never observed Uranus before, this is the month to do it. The geometry is perfect. The planet is high in the sky during convenient hours, and the moon is new around the 20th, giving you dark, clear skies to track down this distant ice giant. Neptune, the most distant planet in our solar system, spends the entire month in the constellation Pisces, glowing faintly at about magnitude 7.7. It's far too dim to see without optical aid, and even through a telescope, it appears as a tiny bluish disk, just over 2 arcseconds across. You'll need a telescope, steady skies, and a good finder chart to distinguish it from the background stars, but spotting Neptune is always rewarding. As I write this episode, Comet Lemmon, and to a lesser extent Comet SWAN, are putting on fine telescopic shows in the evening skies. Currently, Comet Lemmon, also known as C2025A6, is glowing around magnitude 4.4, bright enough to be visible to the naked eye under dark moonless skies. Its tail stretches about 2 degrees across the sky and looks especially nice to a telescope. It begins the month in Ophiuchus, near the star Morphic, and quickly moves south as the days go on. Since it's now moving away from the sun, it will gradually fade throughout the month. Comet C2025R2 SWAN is a bit fainter, around magnitude 5.5, and shows a smaller, more compact tail. It starts November in Aquila and drifts eastward into Pisces as the month progresses. Both comets should remain visible in binoculars or a small telescope for at least part of this month. The Leonid meteor shower reaches its peak this year on the night of November 17th into the early morning hours of the 18th. The Leonids are one of the most famous annual meteor showers, known not just for their beauty, but for their history. In 1833, observers across North America witnessed tens of thousands of meteors per hour, a true meteor storm that filled the sky with streaks of light. A similar outburst in 1966 produced rays so intense that some observers described it as falling snow made of fire. While we won't see anything that dramatic this year, the 2025 Leonids should still put on a nice show. The moon will be a waning crescent, which means minimal interference from moonlight. Under clear dark skies, you can expect to see about 10 to 15 meteors per hour, a classic Leonid display. For the best views, head outside after midnight and look toward the constellation Leo, which will be climbing higher in the eastern sky as the morning approaches. Make sure to give your eyes at least 20 minutes to adjust to the darkness, and you might be rewarded with a few bright Leonids streaking across the pre-dawn sky. In space news, SpaceX notched another major milestone on October 13th with the successful flight of Starship Flight 11. Both the Starship vehicle and its Super Heavy booster made controlled water landings, marking continued progress toward developing a fully reusable heavy-lift launch system. Each test brings SpaceX closer to achieving its goal of rapid, repeatable flights, a crucial step for future deep space missions. However, just a week later, on October 20th, acting NASA Administrator Sean Duffy announced a significant shift in plans for the Artemis 3 mission, which aims to return astronauts to the moon. Up until now, SpaceX's Starship was slated to serve as the lunar lander for that mission. But citing the complexity of Starship's refueling requirements, the pace of testing, and overall program costs, NASA has decided to open the lander contract to additional competitors. This move doesn't end NASA's partnership with SpaceX. Starship will continue to play a role in Artemis testing and development, but it does signal that NASA wants to explore more cost-effective and reliable options to ensure the first crewed landing of the Artemis era stays on schedule. It'll be interesting to see which aerospace firms step forward as contenders in the months ahead. And speaking of our nearest neighbor, now it's time for the
Lunar Feature of the Month.
This month, we're going to explore one of the most striking craters on the moon, Gassendi. It's located along the northern edge of Mare Humorum, a dark circular lunar mare in the moon's southwestern quadrant. Because of its position near the mare's rim, Gassendi is often beautifully illuminated by low-angle sunlight, especially around the time of the 10-day-old waxing gibbous moon. That's when you'll see it at its best. Gassendi is about 110 kilometers, or 68 miles across, and just over 1.9 kilometers deep. It's a complex crater, and one that never fails to impress through a telescope. Its walls are heavily terraced, and its interior is anything but smooth. The floor is fractured by a network of rills and ridges that give it a rugged, almost three-dimensional appearance. These features are known collectively as Rime Gassendi, and they are thought to be the result of ancient volcanic activity that caused the crater floor to uplift and crack. At the center lies a triple-peaked central mountain. Remnants of the rebound that formed when the impact that created Gassendi forced the lunar crust downward and then back up again. The interplay of shadow and light across these peaks can be stunning, especially near lunar sunrise or sunset. The crater can be seen with 10-power binoculars, but it's best seen in a telescope. Observers using moderate to high power might also notice Gassendi A, a smaller crater that intrudes into Gassendi's northern rim. Historically, Gassendi has been a favorite target for lunar observers since the days of early telescopic astronomy. It's named for Pierre Gassendi, a 17th century French philosopher, mathematician, pioneer of refracting telescopes, and astronomer, who was among the first to observe the transit of Mercury across the sun in 1631. So the next time the moon is around 10 days old, take a close look along the northern edge of Mare Humorum and enjoy what Gassendi has to offer. Now it's time to head out of the solar system as we take a deep space tour of the constellation Perseus, the hero. Perseus stands high in the east on November evenings and is best known in mythology as the hero who slew the Gorgon Medusa and rescued Andromeda from the sea monster Cetus. Together with Cassiopeia, Cepheus, and Andromeda, Perseus forms part of a grand celestial tableau that stretches across the autumn sky. At the center of Perseus lies Myrfak, also known as Alpha Persei, a brilliant F-type supergiant star about 500 light-years away that shines at magnitude 1.79. It anchors the Alpha Persei Association, a large, loose grouping of hot young stars that fills several degrees of sky, a perfect target for binocular viewing. Nearby is Algol, or Beta Persei, the famous demon star. Ancient observers noticed its change in brightness, which give it a sinister reputation. We now know that Algol is an eclipsing binary system. One star passes in front of the other every 2.87 days, causing its light to fade from magnitude 2.1 to 3.4 before brightening again. A pair of stars is located about 94 light-years away, and it's a fun variable to follow as its brightness changes throughout the month. That's enough for stars. Let's see what deep sky objects Perseus has in store for us. We'll begin with M76, the Little Dumbbell Nebula. This small planetary nebula is about 2,500 light-years away, shining at magnitude 10.1 and spanning just over 1 arc-minute in size. Through larger telescopes, it resembles a miniature version of the more famous Dumbbell Nebula in Vulpecula, showing an elongated shape with 2 lobes of gas surrounding a faint central star, the remnant of a dying sun-like star. In my 8-inch SCT, M76 is fairly easy to spot, especially with a nebula filter. At higher magnifications, it appears almost rectangular. You'll need a larger scope to pick up the faint outer lobes of the nebula. To locate M76, begin at 4th magnitude 5 Persei, then sweep 1 degree north to a 6th magnitude star, Then look 12 arc minutes west, and you'll find M76. Next up, we have a 2-for-1, and without a doubt, my favorite deep sky object to look at through a telescope. The double cluster, a pair of open clusters that are cataloged as NGC 869 and NGC 884. The pair lies about 7,500 light years away from us in the Perseus arm of our galaxy. NGC 869 glows at magnitude 3.7 and spans 15 arc minutes, while NGC 884 is slightly fainter and smaller at magnitude 3.8 and 11 arc minutes across. Both are easily visible to the naked eye from dark skies. Aside from their proximity, what makes them truly special is their youth. Each is only about 14 million years old. Both clusters are packed with hundreds of bright blue-white stars, while NGC 884 contains several red supergiants visible through moderate telescopes or binoculars. To the unaided eye from a dark location, they appear as a dim, slightly fuzzy patch. In binoculars, several individual stars become visible, and in my 70mm refractor, they are an absolute treat. With any telescope that has good optics, the view is simply stunning. To locate the double cluster, start at Navi, the middle star in Cassiopeia's W, and draw a line to Rukba. Continue that line for 7.5 degrees, then nudge your scope about half a degree south, and you'll land right on this amazing showpiece. Perseus is also home to other fine open clusters, and our next target, M34, is a perfect example. Located about 1,500 light years away, M34 contains around 100 stars. It spans 35 arc minutes and glows at magnitude 5.5, making it just visible to the naked eye under dark skies. In binoculars, it appears as a faint, hazy patch. In my 70mm refractor, dozens of stars are visible in loose chains. And in my 8-inch Dobsonian, this cluster truly shines, bright, sparkling, and beautifully framed against the background sky. To locate M34, start at Algol and imagine a line to Almach in Andromeda. Sweep 5 degrees from Algol toward Almach, then 1 degree north, and you'll spot M34. The next couple of objects are a bit more challenging, but are worth the effort, especially under dark skies. Let's take a look at NGC 1275, a peculiar galaxy at the heart of the Perseus galaxy cluster that's located about 230 million light years away. Classified as a Seyfert galaxy, it was first observed by Sir William Herschel on October 17, 1786. Visually, the galaxy appears as a faint, elongated glow at magnitude 12.6 and spanning about 2.2 by 1.7 arc minutes. In my 8-inch SCT, it appears small and dim, but it's a rewarding sight knowing that you're looking at an active galaxy far beyond our Milky Way. To find NGC 1275, sweep 2 degrees east of Algol and then half a degree north, and you should spot the galaxy. Our last stop on this month's tour is the famous California Nebula, NGC 1499, named for its resemblance to the outline of the state. This vast emission nebula spans about 2.5 degrees, or about 5 times the width of the full moon. Though its overall magnitude is around 5, its light is spread out, making it a very subtle visual target. Under dark skies with a nebula filter, its faint glow becomes visible through wide-field telescopes. I've been able to glimpse it from very dark locations with 7x50 binoculars, where it appeared as a dim, elongated haze. For the best chance of seeing it, use a wide-field telescope at low power, a good deep sky filter, and very dark skies. To find the California Nebula, start at Menkib, a 4th magnitude star, and sweep about 1 degree north, and you should detect the faint glow of the California Nebula. As you can see, Perseus is a constellation filled with brilliant stars, rich clusters, long nebulae, and distant galaxies. So I urge you to spend some time exploring this region on a clear November night, and you'll see why it's long been a favorite among amateur astronomers. I do hope that you'll explore some of the wonders that Perseus has to offer, and that they become favorites of yours as well. And I hope that you take advantage of the crisp November evenings and enjoy what the skies have to offer. If you've observed or imaged any of the objects that we've explored this month, please share them on our Facebook group. Our next episode, which will be out in a couple of weeks, will feature an interview that I did with Greg Shanos, who's an active planetary imager and observer. Greg imaged several transits of Titan crossing Saturn this year. It will be a fun and interesting episode, so make sure you check it out. So once again, thank you, and please don't forget to enter that contest by leaving a comment with your favorite celestial object and why you love it on our 1,000 subscriber special video. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope that you found it fun, informative, and inspiring. Most of all, I hope it encourages you to step outside and spend some time under the stars. If you've got questions, feedback, or ideas for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at astroguypodcast@gmail.com or send a text or a voicemail to 973-404-0380. Be sure to check out the AstroGuy Podcast group on Facebook and visit our YouTube channel for past episodes, observing tips, and bonus content. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps us to reach more fellow skywatchers. Until next time, may your skies be clear. And as always, carpe noctem, seize the night.
I'm Wayne Zool, and this was the AstroGuy Podcast. Thank you for listening. As always, your questions, comments, and suggestions are welcome. Keep wondering. Keep your eyes on the sky. Have fun. Carpe noctem. Seize the night.